UFC 247 was, if it wasn't boring, it was controversial as hell. And we're going to break it all down for you on this recap show for UFC 247. Of course, I'm your host, Ross Allen, and I'm joined by Fourth and Long's UFC correspondent, Blake Campbell. Blake, thanks for joining us today to break down the action of Saturday's events.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm a little under the weather, so I got to apologize for any sniffles. I'm going to try to contain it, though, as best as I can.
It's all good. Flu game. We appreciate the hard work you put in.
Hey, I got my shot, though, so I'm a little upset.
Those aren't the only shots you do, huh?
Whoa.
Whoa.
I just, grass and wheat shots at Jamba Juice, maybe.
Oh, yeah, you're the healthiest. Folks,
Absolutely.
we're going to get this thing started by diving into the last fight of the prelims, and that was Trevin Giles versus James Krause. It was a middleweight bout when Giles was the winner by split decision, with all judges scoring it 29-28. This was a great showing by Giles against super late Phil Krause, who actually joined the card the Friday, I believe, literally the day before. So, all credit to him. I love it when I see fighters step up like that. It's really impressive, and I give them a lot of respect. But this fight really set the theme of the entire rest of the card, going to the main card, because it was definitely some questionable judging on that one, Blake, wasn't it?
Yeah, I definitely thought so. Personally, I scored rounds 1 and rounds 3 to Kraus. I thought that he came out on fire. He looked a little shaky with the striking department because he's going against a bigger guy on short notice. Hasn't really trained against any of his looks very much. So I was definitely scared of him getting hit, really quick. But he actually took him to the ground pretty easily and ended up putting him in some really precarious situations. There was some times where I thought that he might actually tap out in that first round.
Yeah, it got
Um,
really close. Really close.
yeah, yeah, and the second round, I definitely gave to Giles.
Mm-hmm.
Giles was starting to piece him up. It looked like, and Kraus showed signs of slowing a little bit. But
Yeah,
then we go into the
his
third
cardio was
round.
definitely getting questioned that second round, especially
Yeah,
on a fight with no camp. I don't think
right, and
there's a lot of people that
can't fault him.
don't understand how impactful and important is a camp is to a fighter going lead up to the fight, at least in just in terms of cardio, because these fighters, of course, they always stay fit, but there's a different level of fitness you have to be when you're in camp preparing for a fight. You know?
Think of it like a horse race. Like they're literally athletes getting trained to their peak performance to get basically get to race day. They're getting all of their muscles and all their juices flowing and ready to perform at their complete full potential
Mm-hmm.
on that one night where they're going to fight at 11:30 or 7 o'clock, whatever the time may be. And Kraus didn't. He got like what 18 hours to prepare
If
when he
that.
when he fully because he knew about the fight for maybe a little over 24 hours, let's say, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't signed, ready, and finalized and approved.
No,
All the medicals and all the commission signing off on it. That wasn't ready. I believe I saw something on Twitter say 18 hours beforehand.
that's brutal.
So that's crazy.
See, that's
That's
why
absolutely insane.
it's for that reason that even though he lost on the scorecards, not in everyone's opinion, definitely not in Blake's opinion, but even though he came out with a L, I still wanted to give him mad props for making this, for arguably winning the fight on 24 hours notice, which is remarkable, and I want to give him a lot of respect for that. He deserves it.
Yeah, I don't know too many other fighters besides the Notorious that would take uh, fights just on the in the blink of an eye. No opponent. Okay, I'll fight him. Middleweight when I usually fight lightweight or welterweight recently. Okay, cool.
Hey,
I'll do it.
that's a real fighter right there. Someone that just is screwed and goes to a fight,
He said that too
right?
in the post fight interview. He said, I wake up and I live this life every day. Something along the lines of that. This is the life that I'm living every day. I fight every day. I'm training for this life every day.
Sounds
So
like
it's
something
nothing
straight
new
out
for
of
him.
Cowboy Cerrone's mouth. Jeez.
And you know what else I saw on Twitter? He signed a new contract once that fight was announced. He got to ink a new deal with the UFC, and so now he's getting some new money coming in and more fights lined up.
Hey, good for you, James Krause.
And now he's got some hype. He's got some people talking about him. Good for
Exactly.
him.
Hey, this even in a loss, he still wins in a couple of
And
categories.
not taking anything away from Mr. Giles, he
No,
actually had. I thought he still put on a really good
that
performance
second
and
round
put
was
Kraus in some
looking
trouble.
amazing. I was
Yeah.
kind of surprised he didn't finish him in that second.
Yep. I mean, he has some stuff to work on. He
Of course.
definitely needs to work on that ground game. It looks like, but but yeah, he's dangerous on the feet. I'd like to see him get another. I mean, Kraus is no slouch. You can tell
No,
that his skill set translates to each weight class. That's what's interesting about it. So I mean, whether it be lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, he's not a pansy. He's very similar to McGregor. He can go up and fight anybody
no, he
within means.
oh yeah, of course, but he's seemingly the in a great spot in any division that he's fighting in. Moving
Right.
on to the main card, we started off with Derek Lewis, hometown hero, straight from Houston, Derek Lewis against Ilar or sorry, Ilar Latifi, who was making his debut at the heavyweight division. Originally, he was at the light heavyweight, which is 205. Heavyweight goes up to 265. Latifi, actually, not a lot of people know this. He can deadlift 700 pounds. And that's just without training. They say with training, he can get up to 800. And as a fighter, being able to deadlift like that, that's ridiculous. That shouldn't be a thing, okay? Like, I'm understanding going back in like to Bigfoot Silva or some of those guys, but Latifi, man, a dude who was probably walking around like 235, I believe, to deadlift 700 pounds, unreal. But onto the fight. Derek Lewis was your winner by unanimous decision. All judges scoring the contest 29-28. To be fair, going I think it was on Friday or whatever day he was getting interviewed. But Derek Lewis did say that his fight prediction was that it was going to be a controversial finish. And Blake, we got just that.
Yeah, I mean, he took the words right out of our mouths, right?
Right?
Uh, I
Is he
mean,
going to get the new title of Mystic Mac? Because I predict these things.
he could. He's one step closer. That's for sure. So going to the fight, I definitely thought Lewis looked the more dangerous of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I mean, and I thought it was really impressive how he was whipping those head kicks out and
Oh my gosh,
and
this
throwing
fight
those flying knees.
I was about to make a point on that. Derek Lewis, he said, going lead up to this fight, is that he was making big changes in his camp and his training, and
Yeah,
he wasn't lying. Derek Lewis, this big old dude who barely makes a weight cut at 265, throwing out flying knees and giving out head kicks and making them look fairly impressive as well.
like he looked noticeably leaner, and
He
more
looked
and more
good.
fit and athletic.
He looked good in the weigh-in. Way better than
Yeah,
he did in his last couple fights. So shoot,
absolutely.
he's really making some big changes in his career. I think he's trying to get back to that title picture.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought that this fight too, right here, people want to say that it was questionable judging. I actually thought the judging was pretty consistent throughout the whole night with the way that
What,
things turned
consistently
out.
bad?
Well, consistently bad, I guess you could say if that's your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But let me break it down for you.
Please,
So
please.
Latifi, yes, he was wrestling. He was wrestling. He was getting them down to the ground. He was not really doing anything with it though. I mean, there was a couple times I can remember off the top of my head where the fight literally had to be separated because he was just literally breathing
Let's
on
see.
him
They broke him up once on the ground, and I believe they also broke them once. Broke
against the
them up once.
cage.
Yeah, in the clinch.
Yeah, so it's like if that's happening, like what to what benefit is that? You're not putting him in any scenario where it's going to be a finishing case. So Derek Lewis is going out there. He's throwing head kicks. He's throwing flying knees multiple times. He's throwing bombs.
Mm-hmm.
And actually landing and getting Latifi hurt.
He had a couple of those
Especially
flying
towards
knees landed
towards the end
flush
of the
on that
third
chin.
round. Towards the beginning and towards the end of the third round, he really had Latifi in trouble.
Dude, especially that end of the third round is such a stereotypical way for a Derek Lewis fight to finish because
He just let
he was
loose.
saying he told his trainers to let him know when it's getting to the end because he absolutely let loose and he was piecing Latifi up and down it was really impressive. I was honestly really impressed by Latifi's chin to not get knocked out in those last 20, 30 seconds because Derek Lewis was landing heavy shots.
So
And
would you give that last round to Derek Lewis a 10-8?
uh, that's a good question. I believe I don't think I give it 10-8 based on the last 30 seconds because that whole round was fairly it was close until that last little bit. That's why I'll give it a 10-9. Would you give it a 10-8?
It's close.
It's really close. I believe if
I
Derek
think
Lewis
if
had
he
that
landed the
flurry for
knockdown, yeah.
maybe knockdown, yes. If he had that flurry going for like a minute, over the last minute, I'd give him 10-8. But since it was just over those last 20, 30 seconds, I'm okay with the 10-9. He still definitely won that round. And I do
Right.
agree that he won that fight. But I was a little surprised that it might have been unanimous. Um, because of course, there's an argument that Latifi won this fight based off of just overall control, and he got the takedowns, and he
Hmm.
was getting the guard passes. But this definitely was not the most controversial fight on the card.
Definitely not the most controversial. I really didn't have the biggest issue. I mean, unanimous decision is a little bit of a slap in the face to
Latifi,
our dear old friend Latifi, but other than that, I thought Derek Lewis won that fight
I
for
do
sure.
I do agree with that one. But at the very least, Latifi, he definitely has a future at the heavyweight division because Derek Lewis is one of the top guys in the division, and this was his first fight going into heavyweight for Latifi, and so I was kind of impressed by him, especially a bigger guy like he is, being able to hold more weight. I think he'll just have more power. He didn't look slow with his punches, so I think he could stay at the heavyweight weight class and be okay with that.
I think there's definitely some guys in the heavyweight division that he'll be able to beat pretty handily.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Good fight as a whole, though. I believe Derek Lewis fights are always pretty interesting to watch, unless we go back to a couple years ago when he fought Francis Ngannou. That was the worst fight I've
Right.
ever seen.
Yeah, that was one of the worst ever.
Oh no, not the worst. The worst fight I've ever seen was last month with Holly Holm and Raquel Pennington too. That was an embarrassment,
Oh,
especially
that was bad too.
especially at the co-main slot. Come on now.
Man.
Next fight on the card was Mirsad Bektik versus Dan Ige. Yep, got that right. This was a
You
bout
got it.
at the featherweight division. See, I was practicing. I just want to make sure because I want to give Dan Ige a lot of respect because he had, or Bektik too, because this might have been the best fight on the main card. Besides the main event, it was a lot of fun to watch. Ige was a winner by split decision. All judges scoring the contest 29-28. Ige was it was a good first round. Honestly, it was exciting all three rounds. Ige was actually
Hmm.
got really close in that second to be getting submitted by the arm triangle. I believe Bektik had that in for around a minute, and Ige was barely able to twist his way out of that. That was a really impressive way to escape that submission, and then also really good stand up game by Ige in the third to really take that fight. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I definitely gave the first and the third to Ige pretty handily.
Mm-hmm.
It was impressive how well he came out. He just was landing the better combinations, it seemed, than Bektik. I mean, it almost seemed like he was countering, but he would always throw like three or four punches right in a row, like just a quick combination,
Mm-hmm.
and it would be so crisp and it would land flush, and it would kind of rock Bektik. It happened about two or three times in the first minute, and that kind of earned his respect, I think, like right away. And so that first, it was easy for me to give it to Ige.
Mm-hmm.
Second round, Bektik came out and he was awake. At that point, he came out. His coaches let him know, you definitely got your butt kicked in that first round.
He
You need to take
made
it to him in the
noticeable
second round.
adjustments in that second round.
Yeah, yeah, he came out and he started looking really sharp. Third round, Ige just took control again. He was leading the dance and ended up pulling that fight out. I was really impressed because Bektik has been a really impressive force at featherweight for a few years. He hasn't been as active as you'd want a fighter to be,
Mm-hmm.
fighting 3-4 times a year. That's what you'd always wish for. But this guy has unfortunately had some injuries, but he's fought huge names like Josh Emmett. That was one of if Or not was it? Yeah, he's fought Josh Emmett. He got I believe he got knocked out by Josh Emmett. Um, Darren Elkins, that was one of the best comebacks ever. I'm naming losses against him right now. I'm kind of an asshole. Excuse my language. But he's fought some really, really good people. So for Dan Ige to get this win under his belt, I think it just solidifies his rise to the cream of the crop,
And see, I
so
was
to
about to
say.
say, going off of that, he did. It wasn't his post-fight interview in the cage, but later that night, he did call out the Korean Zombie.
Oh,
So
I don't know about that yet,
I
man. Because
don't
Korean
think.
Zombie is like he's like basically at a title shot
I
almost, you
think
know?
no. I think if they're not, if the UFC is not going to have the rematch between Holloway and Volkanovski for the title, I believe that the Korean Zombie deserves a championship opportunity at Volkanovski's belt. They've been having some friendly banter
Yeah, you've
on the
seen that, right?
Twitterverse going recently.
Well,
Today
it's
was
definitely not Korean Zombie. It's definitely Korean Zombie's manager.
well, yeah. It was I was about to say I was really surprised because yeah, the Korean Zombie and his manager on the Ariel Helwani show on this Monday that we're recording, and that was the first time I've ever heard him speak.
Yep.
Even like besides like post fight interviews, he's kind of scary to be honest. But he seems like a nice guy at the same time. It's really weird. All I
I
know
wouldn't mess with them.
is I would not want to step into the octagon with him.
Yep.
Especially what he's been doing recently. He's scary and he has one hell of a twister. So would this be a possible fight? So if they do go the route of Volkanovski Holloway 2, the rematch, would you want to see Ige um versus the Korean Zombie, or do you think he's not worthy of the Korean Zombie yet?
Well, I think it's unfortunately it's kind of up to Korean Zombie, I would think,
He's all the one with the power in
because
this.
basically, yeah, because he has to look at it like risk and reward, weigh it out. What's the risk and what's the reward? Like me taking on Dan Ige, who just beat Mirsad Bektik, who's is he even ranked top 10? Is Bektik in the top 10 right now,
I
in the
don't
top
think he
15?
was. He was top
You know,
15.
okay, so he's taking so Korean Zombie's what, number 4, number 5
He's in number
maybe?
4 right now.
Yeah, so he's fighting top 5. Ige to call out number 4, that's kind of a big jump.
Yeah, I don't know if
It
he's
just kind of
something
depends on
yet.
the availability. Like I think
Exactly.
another name that he could call out would be like uh, a Yair Rodriguez, or maybe a who's that freaking white guy, that who the fuck are you guy, Jeremy Stevens.
And we'll have you know,
You know,
technically that was not
I
profanity. That was FOOK. Perfectly
yeah,
fine.
that was McGregor. That was not a
It
curse
was
word.
a quote
That's
anyway.
Irish.
It's Irish. Irish isn't cursing because their whole language is a bunch of cursing.
Absolutely not.
So yeah, you
It's
got
a meme.
Chan
It's a
Sung
meme.
Jung, the Korean Zombie, up there at 4. Yeah, Yair Rodriguez at 5. Um, maybe we could see. I'm
I'd
sorry.
say
Yeah, no,
Jeremy
he
Stevens.
wasn't even up. He wasn't even top 15. But maybe Jeremy Stevens could be good. Um,
Is he, if he doesn't have a fight booked already?
I think he might be getting one. If you want, so let's see this. If Ige wants to fight Chan Sung Jung, maybe his first step would, if you it's still gonna be a little bit of reach, but if he wants to take that step to fight the Korean Zombie, maybe he should first fight the dude that the Korean Zombie just knocked the hell out of, in Frankie Edgar, who's in number 6 right now in the division.
Another option, yeah, another option.
Who knows? But also,
But didn't Edgar, wasn't he going to bantamweight or something like
he
that?
was.
I
I
thought
think he's gonna make the drop. Um,
so. He's probably out.
Probably out. Ooh, big up and comer division who's been recently ranked. Sadiq Youssef. Hmm. Egan
Ooh,
Youssef.
yeah, yeah. I still didn't know if I liked that decision with him and Andre Feely, but
But he is a.
yeah, that
It
would
doesn't matter the
be a
decision
good
because
fight.
both those fighters are awesome. Um, I'd, I'd see that. I would definitely tune into that fight.
Yeah,
Yep.
that would be a good one because they're both kind of on the rise and both trying to prove themselves to be at the top.
And you got these two
Because it's
young
just
guys trying to make a name for themselves in the division. And if you
like
put
it
them
totally
together,
makes
you'll get the
sense
best
for
one out of the
Ige
two. Yeah, exactly. It's
for Ige
reasonable.
for Ige to call out, the Korean Zombie. It totally makes sense. You want the highest ranked guy that can get you the closest to the title, but for Zombie, in my humble
Doesn't make
opinion, I'm
sense.
not trying to disrespect Ige
No, no
at
disrespect
all.
at all.
It makes no sense for that fight.
No,
I am sorry, but is Ige ranked now? Yes or no?
no.
Do we know?
As
Exactly.
of
And if
before the card, he is not.
but was Bektik? What rank was he again?
He also was unranked before this fight.
So he's probably not going to be ranked then.
No,
So for a number 4 to fight an unranked fighter, I'm sorry,
that
bro.
doesn't happen. That doesn't
It
happen.
just doesn't happen.
No.
Unless it was like a boxer coming into MMA,
If we're
Tyson
talking
Fury
about
wanting to
possible
fight.
featherweight fights, let me see if Korean Zombie is going after Volkanovski. There's a lot. I would love to see the Korean Zombie against Volkanovski. You put Chan Sung Jung against any of the top three fighters: Holloway or Brian Ortega or Sabit Mago Med Sharipov. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But any of those fights would be absolutely amazing, and I would love to watch any of them. But let's get back on track. Focusing on
Yeah, we got way
247.
off track.
Yeah, we did. That's just what happens with us. But it was a good topic to get off track on. I love thinking about dream fights with that stuff. Um, the next fight on the card was a heavyweight bout between Juan Adams and Justin Tafa.
Some more big boys.
This was this might have been my favorite fight on the card, just because we got two big heavyweights. They're not just like the heavyweights are like 225, 235. These are the 265-pound heavyweights.
Yeah, these are the big dogs.
These are the dudes that would be super heavyweights in other promotions.
These are the dudes that
Pride never
like
die.
they come in the lunchroom and like they like take your lunch
No, they just take the
and
whole
you
lunchroom
and
with
you
them.
and you don't say anything to
Oh,
them.
yeah,
And
they say
you say
eat you
you tell
too.
them thank you. You
Thank
say
you.
thank you, sir, for not kicking my butt today.
Right, but this was pretty much a stereotypical heavyweight fight. You just had two big beefy dudes throwing haymakers at each other. Tafa was the winner of the TKO 3 minutes into round one. So, this was a fans fight, and this was a great way to break up the monotony of the first two fights going to decision. So I love this fight. I thought it was great.
Yeah, Toffa sparked Adams, man. That was like he put him out so nasty
I don't
with
see the only
I believe it
problem.
was right hook to a right uppercut.
It was
And it
bad.
was
It was
just
bad.
so flush. Like you could just see his lights turn out. Man, it got me so hyped. That was like almost a card saver for me.
It really was. This I thought it was great. It's good change of pace, and who doesn't love seeing two beefy dudes going at it and knocking the hell out of each other? It's just
Yeah.
it's just fun. It's just fun, man. Next fight on the card was the co-main. This was Valentina Shevchenko defending her women's featherweight title against number ranked opponent Caitlin Chukagian. That's what there's
Chukagian. Put some
Chukagian.
respect
I'm
on
sorry.
the number one ranked flyweight.
The number one ranked flyweight that got her ass handed to her easily. This
Man.
fight was not a contest from the beginning. Valentina Shevchenko is she's arguably top two fighter in the world right now. I think Amanda Nunes still number one fighter. She might be the number one pound for pound fighter in the world. But if we're just talking women
She's
fighters,
beat her twice.
exactly. So Valentina Shevchenko is that two fighter. Amanda Nunes is a number one fighter. If we're talking about all promotions, Cyborg number three possibly. But this was brutal. Shevchenko won in the third round via TKO, and she was just battering Caitlin the whole fight. I was really surprised it just even made it to the third round.
Yeah, she just looked a step behind the
See,
whole fight.
see,
She looked
going into the
slow.
fight, you were telling me that you were not buying into the hype of this fight.
No, I not at all. I thought her movements were, they're definitely uh um man, what's the word I'm looking for, dude?
Monotonous.
They're unorthodox,
Unorthodox.
like She's doing movements that like I'm sure Valentina's not looking at it on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at them in the ring, they're so slow. Like when she made it to the cage, all of her movements that she was supposed to be doing, all her crazy footwork and spin kicks and all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
she barely pulled any of it out. You know,
It was
she
it
just
what she looked like when you're playing UFC on like Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, and you are out of stamina and you're still trying to throw moves. That's exactly what that looked like.
yeah, it just looked like her heart really wasn't in it. I don't want to say that her heart wasn't in it,
No,
but the way
yeah,
she was
yeah,
throwing,
yeah.
the way that she was throwing, it just looked like not everything was behind it. Like she wasn't going full speed.
Yeah, so anytime
And
we like, I guess, criticize these fighters, I don't want to say anything remotely close to what Stephen A. said. Not
right, no,
99% of these fighters don't quit, and they're crazy people that we should all have a tremendous amount of respect for.
absolutely,
And
I
I
would
say
never
that
get in a
because
cage like that.
any of these guys or gals that we're talking about could easily whoop my butt, and I just want to save face. No,
Yeah,
don't kill me, please.
but regardless, that goes without saying. She
Yeah.
still got her butt kicked.
Hmm. But
And
the
I'm
problem
still
with
very surprised that she's the number one ranked flyweight.
well,
Like,
if
no,
she's the number one ranked flyweight, what's the rest of that division looking like?
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the best that we can offer Valentina right now. I mean, it comes and goes. You know, the number one ranked opponent is just the person who's on the freshest win streak. It seems like.
That's what it used to be in terms of John Jones and the people that he was fighting for a decent chunk to defend his title. It looks like Valentina Shevchenko is just she is just going through the motions because there's no one that she
These
can
girls can't
fight.
catch up with her.
No, she's so far ahead. And the problem with the women's divisions is nothing against these women because obviously they're amazing fighters, but they don't. That these divisions do not have depth. You have the champion,
Well, yeah, they're
then you have
years
maybe
behind in
the
development.
yeah, the champion. Yeah, maybe the number one contender. But besides that, there's not too much in terms of competition for the title.
I'd say featherweight's the one underneath, right? Or strawweight. Strawweight has probably the deepest talent pool because that's the weight most girls are going to be fighting out,
Hmm.
115 or so. So that one's actually pretty decently solid. There's good fights to make top to bottom pretty much for the most part.
Yeah, we're going to get that fight next month at 248 between the strawweight queen, Yoa the Young Jacek, and Corona champion Zhang Weili.
Whoa, you're crazy. Oh man,
If you want
that's
to,
gonna
hey,
that's gonna
hey,
get you in trouble, buddy.
if if Joanna can say it, I can too, but I'm not going to delete it like Joanna did.
Stand behind your words, stand tough. But no, back to what we were saying.
Yeah.
It's just not as deep of a talent pool right now, and so it's almost like to me, it's almost like it's perfect time, perfect place, like perfect storm really for Valentina. Like she's just gonna rule that 125-pound division.
Yeah,
Amanda's not gonna want to cut down to that 125 weight. I don't
Amanda's
think and fight her.
huge. There's no
Yeah,
need.
and
Well, it's
and
because
and
Amanda's already
Joanna's
beat
already
her
tried
twice.
that.
She has nothing more to prove, and there's no point
Right,
in taking a weight cut like that.
exactly. And Joanna's already tried going up and got her butt kicked.
Hmm.
So Valentina, until someone comes up and proves like, hey, I'm the next real deal. She's pretty much in a John Jones situation, and what's scary is she's fighting at such a rapid rate. Like she's fighting 3 to 4 times a year now, still, and she's
She's coming
champ
after
champ. You know?
that John Jones record for most title defenses, and
Yeah, I
then
mean, just imagine how many rubies and shit her belt's gonna have.
oh, it's going. There's not going to be. She's going to get two belts. But speaking of Jones, let's get into what everyone is talking about. What all of Twitter, probably Facebook, maybe Instagram, even hell, maybe even people on LinkedIn are arguing about this fight. John Jones versus Dominic Reyes for the light heavyweight strap. Jones wins this fight via split decision, with all judges scoring the contest 29-28, and this was absolutely controversial. And there, I still haven't seen people really agree on a winner in this fight. It was the judges scoring is bad, is everyone is making out to seem.
I definitely agreed with the majority of the people in saying that 49-46 score was
Oh,
absolutely
yeah,
ludicrous.
I agree. 49-48, fine. is what it should be. But 49, 46?
That one to me made zero sense and had me questioning
Come
why
on,
that guy's
man.
in that position to make those calls.
Yeah.
But the other, me personally, I had Jones winning 49-48. I gave him round two, I gave him round four, and I gave him round five.
Hmm. See, I was a little different than you. I gave Reyes rounds 1 and 2, but then gave Jones 3, 4, and 5.
I just
I
thought
think the
Jones
ones the
closed the fight out so much better.
oh so good.
Reyes, like, first of all, you cannot be a champion and run for 2 rounds straight.
That's exactly what I was saying. Because I know, of course, when it comes to judges scoring, the way someone's pushing a fight, that becomes like one of the last things to score if everything else is even. But it that didn't really affect the scoring as much as I believe it affected Reyes' fighting ability. Because if we saw in the first round, Reyes came out swinging for the fences. He was throwing everything in the kitchen sink at John Jones, and he had Jones rattled, visibly rattled in that first round. But then the second round, I think you saw that was more of a toss up. But after that, Jones just took the money and ran. Reyes literally was running in the fourth and fifth rounds. He looked,
And
I won't call it scared, but he looked timid. He looked timid.
he definitely looked like he had lost his confidence a little bit. I In round one, everyone was making a huge deal off of that so-called knockdown.
It was
But
a body kick.
when you see it in replay, like, Jones was clearly off balance,
Hmm.
and he ended up hitting his chest. Didn't even hit him anywhere in the face,
Yeah.
nothing like that. Like, just totally got him when he was off balance.
Hmm.
So it just looked worse than it really was.
Wasn't a knockdown. Of course, it looks different slow mo than does to seeing it live.
Yeah,
But
it was a bang
if it
bang
was me, the
thing,
whole
but
fight was in slow mo because of how bad my stream was loading. But that's besides the point.
oh man, the stream quality was very very bad. I had to go through the ultimate struggle
Well, no,
on
no, sorry,
Saturday.
sorry. Our streams were perfect as we were streaming it through ESPN and ESPN Plus. The owners of that fight, we were not illegally streaming any of these fights. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, no, I just, for whatever reason, my ESPN Plus stream was just so bad.
Come on, ESPN, fix it,
Maybe you should make it free for everybody and just that'll fix
and
everything
then
for
just put it on a bunch
whatever
of different
reason.
websites for all of us to find them on. But getting back to it, yeah. Reyes, he had him. I think that second round could be a toss. Second and third rounds could be. I think that's where most of the controversy rides on, because you can make a case for either fighter in those 2 rounds. I believe the only thing I think we all should be able to agree that Reyes won the first round and John Jones won rounds 4 and 5, but those rounds 2 and 3 are what ultimately decided the fight in the split decision.
Yeah, and to that point, I think Jones won rounds four and five more handily than Reyes won the first round
Ooh,
or any other round that he might have won.
call that a hot. I think that could be classified as a hot take. If not a hot take, that is
In my
a
opinion,
that's
if
a
you're
mild
running from
that's a
somebody,
mild
like,
take.
you're losing in the fight handily,
Mm,
handily, and
mm.
he ran for the majority of the fourth and the fifth round.
John Jones.
So
Oh, it looked like a different fight between the first 3 rounds and then rounds 4 and 5. John Jones was pressuring. He was playing. I think the stats they were showing during the fight was like 80% of the, or 89% of the pressure was being applied by John Jones, and
right,
he was putting it all in Reyes. I think that's what is the difference between these two fighters. Reyes is an amazing fighter. He was 12-0, 6-0 in the UFC. He had 9 first round knockouts. But John Jones in those championship rounds really showed why he's the GOAT. Because he doesn't stop. He's relentless and he'll figure out a way to beat you, which is
so
what he did, at least according to the judges.
so now if they do give these guys a rematch, right? Like, they match these guys up again right away.
Before you say, is this fight worthy of a rematch?
Um,
I think so.
Man, that's tough.
I think so.
For me,
I don't think.
I think it is,
Mhm.
but it's still like
Yeah, it's definitely
it's
a
his
toss up.
closest fight in a long time,
No,
probably since Gus won.
what? Oh yeah.
And
Um,
even the Thiago Santos wasn't that good because one dude was fighting on one knee.
exactly. I think
Like,
this fight is worthy of a rematch just because Dominic Reyes didn't clearly lose his fight, and John Jones didn't decisively beat Dominic Reyes. So if they were to rematch it, I'd be
Has that ever
totally okay with
happened
that.
before?
What?
I wonder if that's ever happened before. Like, just the champion that's been the undisputed champion for a while fights a challenger and they barely win. Have they ever had an immediate rematch like that for
Uh,
anyone else?
I'm not sure.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any.
The closest thing I think was the closest thing I could think to this was George St. Pierre. Who did he beat in that championship fight? Was it Matt Hughes? No. Matt Hughes beat
Well, I
Pierre.
know he lost to Matt Serra
Yeah,
once, but he had the belt at that
yeah,
point,
but
so that
George
would
St.
be.
Pierre he had the title defense. I'm sorry that I forget who his opponent was, um, but a lot of people said that he should have lost that fight, but he didn't, and then he retained, and that's kind of helped him become the champion that he is. Fight was way more of a robbery than this fight. I don't think Dominic Reyes got robbed. I think this any fighter could have won this fight, and it just ended up being Jones for just barely. And I think that's all there is to this.
Yeah, I definitely gave this fight to John Jones. I didn't think Reyes did enough to beat the champ.
Oh, are you one of those people
Um,
that to beat the champ, you have to really beat the champ instead of just winning the fight?
no, I mean, I think if you win the fight, like how Cody Garbrandt went out and beat Dom Cruz,
Mm-hmm.
on New Year's Eve that one year, what was it, 2016?
I believe so.
That he beat the champ. He beat him in at least three or four of the rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Dom Reyes did not beat him in at least three of the rounds.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Is it
He was not the clear winner. He was
okay?
not the CLEAR clear underlined twice winner in any three rounds besides the first.
I agree. But what is this fight between Jones and Reyes? Is it deserving the amount of controversy that it has accumulated over the past couple days?
Barely.
Barely.
I think it's worthy. It's worthy to talk about, but it's like I think John Jones won, so I'm not one of the
Mm-hmm.
people that's really thinking it's that controversial. The only thing that I thought was controversial was that crazy score 49-46.
Yes, we can all agree that this fight was for either two fighters. It was a 49-48 fight. There
Yes,
is
I think
no
it should have been 49-48 Jones twice and then 49-48 Reyes
mhm.
once.
There is three
Split
times to two.
decision.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for the judges. The judges, I think, is a hole in this card. They made some questionable scoring decisions. This is why I think we need better judges. Bring That's what Joe Rogan was saying. I really agree with him because every state has their own fight commission, and the fight commissions don't really work with the UFC that well. But why not? You guys are, it's all the same sport. Why don't you guys work together more? It's on the commissions because the UFC wants to work with them. Dana White wants to work with the commissions more, but the commissions, they think they're all high and mighty just because they're in these positions and they think they know what they're talking about. When most of the time, these commissions have no idea what they're talking about, especially the New York State Commission. They're the ones that wanted the 12-6 elbows banned. That was displayed by, it was, it's, it's ridiculous. I hate fight commissions and I hate how bad their judges are. And we should have former fighters, coaches, people that have actually been around MMA in their entire lives, judging these fights.
Yeah,
That's
I
my
agree.
that's my take on this.
People with fight experience or like just being around it in general, like for not just like being a boxing
That's what most of these
judge.
judges are. They're just boxing judges that do
That's
work. And
unacceptable in my opinion. Like you got to have someone that's been fully immersed in this, you know, profession
mm-hmm.
because that's really what it is. Like this is literally a guy like people's livelihoods that are on.
Exactly.
You're
They're taking money
deciding
out
their
of people's
paycheck.
mouth. They're taking food out of people's mouths with this
Exactly, and
paycheck.
not only that, but sponsors and all that stuff. Like, because if you win, you get a lot comes with a win.
Mm-hmm.
A loss, you really gotta struggle a little bit sometimes for certain fighters. You know that could mean they get cut. That could mean they're spiraling out of control. Like they don't make their next payment on whatever they're having to pay for. Like
People don't.
it's
You
not
gotta
fair to these
remember these
guys.
fighters, especially the lower tier unranked fighters, they're not making that much money.
No, some guys are showing for 8 and winning for 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's brutal that some of these guys go through this whole scoring system. I'm not sure exactly what change we need. We could have a different discussion on this. I actually want to have one soon, but it needs to change. There has to be changes made, and soon, because the current state of the sport, in terms of its judging, is not. It's far from ideal, and it's just not good.
Yeah, they could definitely add some some facets to it that would just make it a lot more appealing, like
At the very
live
least,
scoring.
have judges that know what the hell they're watching.
Yeah,
At
that would be
least.
the best first step. At least get judges in there that are
Mm-hmm.
qualified and have
Well, it's
experience
because
and know what they're doing.
I was listening to one of my favorite Joe Rogan experiences was him with Big John McCarthy, one of the biggest icons in refereeing and MMA. He's the one. He's the one that accepted the 12-6 elbow ban because of how much other stuff they want to ban. But I remember John McCarthy was saying this story on the show that he went to one of the judges. I forget which fight he was, but he went up to the one judges and he was like, he asked her something around. I'm paraphrasing, but he asked her something like, "Hey, can you show me how to do a triangle choke?" And then he said there's just this big look of fear in her eyes, like she had no idea what the hell that was, and she just walked away. That's a decent amount of these judges. They don't know what they're looking at MMA. There's so many different things you have to look at MMA than boxing. Boxing is all stand up. You have two weapons. Of course, there's a lot of things that these boxers do with those two weapons. But in MMA, you have your feet, you have your hands, you have your elbows, you have your knees, you have grappling, you have your Conor McGregor showing you have your shoulders as well. And there's so many things that go into this. And I think at the very least we need better judges. Not all of them are bad, but a, there's seemingly too many of them that don't know what they're talking about.
There shouldn't be this big of a gap, you know.
No, this fight should not have been scored 49-46.
Yeah,
Come on, man. I feel bad for Dominic Reyes for having a judge actually say that. I wish we all know that if Dominic Reyes got to meet with that judge face to face, judge would not be scoring at 49-46.
oh man, he would definitely be in trouble.
That judge would need a new change of pants at the
He
very
would
least.
he would need he would need braces probably.
Yeah. That's going to do it for us today. Thanks for coming on, Blake. I really appreciate all your insight.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. It was
UFC
fun talking about
correspondent
it.
Blake. Of course, we got to put the respect on his name every time. Full title.
Oh yeah, full title, full time.
You, I like it. That's a slogan right there. Hey, Blake, thanks for the t-shirt idea.
Hey,
uh,
that's what I do, bro.
yeah, but of course, we appreciate you guys for joining us on this momentous occasion where, as of Sunday, so yesterday, the Fourth and Long podcast is on Spotify along with other streaming services. It's a big time deal. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate you guys for being along the on the road with us. Blake, once again, thanks for joining. Thank you guys for listening in. Thanks for checking out this show. Make sure to check out our other content. Follow us on Twitter at Fourth Long Radio. That's capital F, capital L, capital R, and Fourth Long Radio. Instagram at Fourth and Long Radio. That's number 4 TH and Long Radio. We're gonna have a website soon, which is www.thefourthandlongradio.com. Big things going on. Check out the YouTube as well, and we cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.